Arab leaders likely to interpret and respond to Putin's invitation given the current geopolitical climate? And this raises again what could be concerns.
I think they will be eager to interact positively with the invitation extended by the Russian president during the last summit in Baghdad. Bogdanov presented the invitation to the Arab League member states during the Arab Summit, and I think this has its sheer symbolism. And I think that the Arab countries will respond in kind. President al-Sisi, for example, and we were discussing this a few days ago, you and I, Mona, was in Moscow to attend the Victory Day celebrations, along with President Mahmoud Abbas of Palestine. And a few weeks before that, the King of Bahrain was visiting Russia. And President Putin made visits to the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia in the past couple of years as well. So it's very clear that there is a tradition of back and forth summits between Arab leaders and the Russian president. And I think that gathering them in a larger summit inside in Russia, I think many countries, if not most countries, will reply positively and interact positively with this invitation, especially that Russia is active also in many of the conflict zones in the region. Russia has a strong presence in Libya and is a very influential actor in Libya, a proponent, a major supporter of the House of Representatives, the only elected body in Libya, as well as the Libyan National Army led by Field Marshal Khalifa Haftar, supported by Russia and other countries, of course. They are now a very preeminent player in Sudan, supporting the Sudanese armed forces in their war with the Rapid Support Forces. At least for the last year, there were allegations that Wagner, or the former Wagner Corps, was supporting the Rapid Support Forces. However, it seems now that the official Russian government is supporting the Sudanese military, which is the legitimate armed forces of Sudan. As we said, of course, Russia is present in Syria. Russia plays a role in the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. Russia is part of the Middle East Quartet, which is composed by the United Nations, the United States, the European Union, and Russia, which was supposed to oversee the peace process in the region, which of course has been largely frozen since 2014. And Russia also had a strong relationship with a variety of Palestinian factions, including members of the PLO, including a working relationship with Hamas. And also they are known to have been able to coordinate effectively with Israel, and they do not have a very troubled relationship with Israel either. So Russia has a lot to give if it decides to play a larger role, for example, in the Arab-Palestinian, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, especially that the United States, as we have seen, even though it is supposedly a peace mediator over the past 30 years, it has proven to be biased, it has proven to lack any credibility, and is always on the side of the Israelis. So maybe a more neutral player like Russia throwing their hat in the game could be not a game changer, but it will definitely bring about some positive changes at least. And given that now the United States and Russia are in a process of reconciling and cooperating on a variety of subjects, maybe, and President Trump being open to the idea of multipolarity, he might be more welcoming or more understanding of Russian role in this regard. So I think that the Arab leaders will respond positively. I think that many of the key Arab leaders will attend this summit in October, when it's held, I think, by mid-October, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, indeed it will. Mr. Qayyoubi, how significant is the timing of this summit, coming directly after President Trump's Gulf tour and the signing of major deals, and that raises again the economic file?
Actually, I don't think that there is a direct link because actually such summits are planned a long time before, and actually the time, the middle of October, was chosen probably due to some other considerations, probably when there is some schedule in Putin's agenda, there is free time. So I don't think that there is a direct link, and I am sure that this summit was planned since long time ago, but probably yes, there might be some connection between the timing when this summit was announced, and this is not a coincidence that it was announced just after Trump's tour in the Gulf.
Right. Mr. Osman, how might the summit impact the balance power between the United States and Russia in the region?
I think that Russia is already a major player in the region. It did challenge the United States before in Libya, in Syria, and on other fronts. So this is not something new. This is not a precedent. However, now I think that there might be more room for competition instead of confrontation in this regard, given that there is a cool down in Russian-US tensions since President Trump returned to the White House, and that now they are more open to cooperating of subjects of common interests. And of course, the Middle East is a very vital region for Russia because of its geographic proximity to Russia, to the Russian Caucasus. Russia is not that far away from the Arab world. And also, that's why Russia is invested in the region and has been always keen since the times of the Soviet Union, or even since the time of Tsarist Russia, has been always keen on having a foothold in this region, for example. So it's very important to understand that the Russians and the Americans might find common areas where they can cooperate and also can find ways to compete. And competition sometimes might lead to friction and tensions. And this is normal. The thing is, will Russia be willing to play that larger role in the region? Russia has been largely reserved since the Russo-Ukrainian war, not being eager on getting involved in many of the region's conflicts or crises more than it should be. It is involved in Sudan. It is involved in Libya. However, in Syria, they let President Assad fall, for example, for some certain calculations. In Palestine, they could do much more, yet they have done way less than expected from Russia's historical role in supporting the Palestinian cause, for example. However, since Russia now is taking this step of convening the Russia-Arab Summit, it seems that it is interested in expanding its influence in the region once again, especially that the war in Ukraine might end soon, which means that Russia will have more room to maneuver in other parts of the world, including the Arab region, of course. Can this cause tensions with the United States? Certainly. And of course, the recent visit by President Trump to the Gulf region and this very strong development of or strengthening and deepening of Gulf, the relationship of the Arab Gulf states with the United States could be concerning to Russia, because now the Gulf could be more enticed, for example, to increase oil production in order to lower the price of oil, which will serve U.S. economic interests. Yet it will be very harmful to the Russian economy, for example. So there is, and that's why, for example, we see Russia moving to cement its partnership with Iran, on the other hand. So it's a very complex matter. And the Middle East is one of the most complex regions in the world.
Indeed.
And I think Russia is well equipped to play a more vital, a more proactive role in the region. And I am optimistic with regards to this Russian role, because the idea of having one superpower, which is the United States, dictating every aspect of how this region moves forward has proven over the past 3 decades to be to the detriment of this region. Having other major powers involved in Middle East affairs and in Arab affairs will give the Arab world more choices, will give the Arab leaders and the Arab countries more leeway and more space to maneuver and preserve their independence and their national interests.